What's going on? What's going on? C-DRE here with another podcast episode. Future technology. What will humans develop in the future? I'm predicting it. I'm trying to mastermind and see what humans will be capable of and what type of technology and what type of new venture the human race will be at. So without further ado, let me give myself a hand clap before I start this podcast episode. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening. Right now, in this episode, we're going to see if, try to figure out what humans will be able to crack the code of immortality. Well, some will say in the ancient days, and I'm going to go biblical here, that the ancient people lived longer than what we live. They said the ancient people, Methuselah lived 900 years old, and some people lived mankind lived in their hundreds. But in our time, we only live into 80, 90, lucky to make it to 100. So we have the technology, but for some weird reason, well, we're not having the technology of immortality yet, but I'm saying is we have all this technology, right? We have all these new gadgets, new breakthroughs with science. The hospital can fix you up. They new breakthroughs. But how are we not living as long as Methuselah back in the ancient biblical days? They keep telling us this dream of immortality, for instance, Elon Musk got this thing called Neuralink he's working on. He's developing, or he's already developed, and he's testing it on rats and from what I'm understanding, and other animals. Well, he's trying to take their conscious. Now I'm paraphrasing. I could be wrong, but from what I'm seeing, he's trying to take their consciousness and put it into a robot or some type of computer, and have their computer in the robot. And that's how they saying, a lot of people saying, I'm not sure if Elon Musk is saying it, but that's what they're saying. A lot of people, that's how we're going to achieve immortality. And there's been a lot of movies talking about this theory, or the video games where they take the human, they take his consciousness, whether it's his brain, and put it inside a robot. There's been a lot of symbolic shows that show, like Dragon Ball Z. I don't know if you watch Dragon Ball Z. Dr. Gero to find immortality. He took his brain out of his human body and put it in a robot android. He got immortality. There's other movies. There's a movie called Replica. I forget, was it on HBO Max or Netflix? One of the two, where this guy takes his soul and put it into a robot. Now, I don't know if they know how they're going to do this. If we are what we are, then are we the brain? I believe we're just the brain. The brain is really what we are. It's like Crane from Ninja Turtles. The big robot and that little brain. Crane ain't nothing without that little brain. The brain is really controlling everything. It's controlling the heartbeat, controlling if your brain is gone, then you're nothing. Your brain dead. So are they going to achieve this in the future, the next 100 years, 200 years? I think they're gonna experiment, because right now, a lot of people achieving immortality in a weird, strange way. The rich people, from what I understand, is some of them have froze their bodies in freezers, some type of time chamber freezer, and when they're gonna hopefully unthaw themselves in a future world where they can bring them back to life, because otherwise you can't bring back to life a frozen person. So a lot of people, millionaires, billionaires, and nobody wants to leave this earth. Everybody wants to live forever somehow. And I don't know how they're going to achieve it. Will they crack the code? And I'm thinking they're more concerned with AI rather than trying to keep the human race going. Now, the only way they will have to fix mankind, the only way they will truly be able to, because we got so many diseases. I hate to be a Debbie Downer. We got so many diseases, so many ailments, so many things taking us out. The further we go along in this world, it's like, are you sure this is going to work? Taking a robot body, taking our brain and putting it into a robot body. I mean, they're making these big, bold claims, these scientists and these tech gurus, that they're going to be able to do this, but it's all talk. It's all propaganda. I honestly, in my opinion, they're not going to be able to do that. They said they can do it, but they said they're going to be able to do it, but they're trying hard as much. They're spending billions and trillions of dollars into this technology, and there's nothing wrong with that, I guess, but humans are not immortal creatures as of right now. And then if you do achieve somehow in the next 100 to 1,000 years, do achieve immortality, which humans get to live forever and which humans don't? Because we can't have everyone live forever. The world will be overpopulated. Resources will run out. The human race and every other creature on the world seems to be recycling itself. The species live on, but the individual species die off. Like humans continue, the human race will continue, but the individuals will die off, and they will give offspring to the next generation and next generation, so forth and so forth. So even if this so-called immortality technology, Neuralink, whether if that's going to be used for the immortality thing, it's not going to, and it's not really, you're messing up Mother Nature and God's plan. Now, I don't know. Now, some people say mankind was meant to live forever. And, if you go back to the, I'm not trying to get biblical because this is not my apocalypse podcast. Go check that out. Where I talk about apocalyptic prophecy. But from what, to tie this in with the immortality thing with technology, a lot of religions believe that mankind was supposed to live forever. And something happened, and now we don't. And there's a lot of theories that said one day man will crack the code of immortality. They will crack the code of time travel. They will crack the code. If we could stop trying to go to have World War III, like we're currently, the trajectory look like we're going, but hopefully we'll be okay. I don't want to talk about one. I don't want to make this subject get intertwined with the other stuff I'll be talking about, but in my other shows about the World War III, apocalypse, and all that. But I don't see us achieving that immortality. It sounds good. Scientists might can explain it well, but who gets to live and who gets to decide who lives and dies? I think we're going to have what's going to end up happening. We're not going to achieve immortality, but by the time that part gets developed, AI would have dominated the earth. When you look at humans trying to find immortality and take their consciousness and put it into a robot, and then you look at AI trying to get its consciousness and put it into a robot, that's going to happen first, most likely. And so when you have the AI starting to get consciousness, a technology like a robot, an actual robot, forget a human flesh putting into a robot. I'm talking about a robot with AI already developing consciousness. That's going to override the human trying to live forever. So by the time we get to that point, we got a better chance of AI developing, getting its own robot body, and taking over the world before we have human immortality. It's too risky. It's too unethical. It's too insane. It's nice to say. Nobody wants to go, but like, what about the soul? Like I said, the brain, I believe the brain is controlling all these things, but is the brain the actual soul? Or is the soul all these components together, the heart, the brain? And some people can live without other body parts, the eyes, the blind people, deaf, the ear, you don't need the hearing, you just need the consciousness. But is the consciousness the senses? The consciousness, because you have some people on life support that has their brain, they're alive, but they're not conscious of themselves. So, I mean, this is a complicated matter when you're talking about consciousness. You're talking about there's more than just consciousness that plays into this technology you're trying to get into. And we say we are a technocracy. We're going to a technocracy world where we're getting high tech. We're getting into technology. We're going to go and see Mars, and we're going to see the future planets, and we're going to time travel, and we say we're going to do that. But when you look at the news, all it talks about is World War III, pandemics, tornadoes, hurricanes. So when I look at the TV, we don't look like a technical world. It doesn't look like the tech, like it doesn't look like we're headed towards the Jetsons. Now we all have a smartphone, an iPhone. Now China looks like they're more technology, they're more focused on, I don't want to get into what government's doing to their citizens, but they're in, if outbreaks, the outbreak, if an outbreak goes on, they'll lock all their citizens down. So, and honestly, my opinion, they feeding us some pipe dreams here with all this future tech. Now it's good to theorize what humans can and cannot do, but I'm starting to think that the scientists and these tech gurus are claiming stuff they simply can't do. They as imaginary, because the human race say we want to do this and want to live forever and want to go to space and want to fly to but I mean, think about it. Back in the day, now I'm not that old, not to be offending anyone that's 40 and 50. That's not old, but I'm saying I'm not old enough to understand when the flying car concept. From what I'm understanding, back in the day, a lot of young men and young women believed they were claiming there was going to be flying cars, and then now we should be having flying cars. If you look at Back to the Future, I don't know if it's the first one or second one. They was in a DeLorean, the machine, the little car, and he went to the future. And guess what time frame he went in? I think it was 2015, if I'm not mistaken. And when he went to 2015 in the movie Back to the Future, there was flying cars, flying skateboards, flying. So it appears that humans have a big imagination. We make bold claims. Now, we do get advanced, and we are getting advanced, and we have made major breakthroughs as far as technology, TV screens, and airwaves, and phones, and all that, and surgeries, and vaccines. But I believe we're overestimating the time frame of accomplishing all these things. In reality, we're really kind of slow to developing these things. Now, granted, the last 100 years, we had a bunch of breakthroughs. The last 100 years, mankind has invented a lot of stuff in that short period of time. So before that 100 years, we wasn't even really doing anything. Mankind wasn't even really inventing things. We had, but this major boom for the last 100 years of inventing stuff. Oh, I invented this. I invented smartphones. I invented internet. So there is like a little boom here, and that may be what mankind is doing, and that's how maybe our nature is that we'll have